Live from Pittsburgh, it's Rona. Well, I finally made it home in a little snow. I've just seen the opera Ernani by Verdi, which was playing at my local theater, which was streamed live from the Met in New York. I really didn't have much interest in this opera in general, but it was starring one of my new favorite singers, Angela Meade. We'll get to her later, but first here are a few things about the opera. I was told that it had a very bad story. I didn't know the story before I went. I figured, how bad could the story be? People have told me it was worse than Trovatore, which, as you know, is a terrible story because the highlight of the story comes when the woman says, "Oh my God, I've thrown the wrong baby into the fire pit." Well, this story just, ay. I don't know how it passed the giggle test for the librettist. When I got to the theater, I was handed a piece of paper with the plot written on it. And I decided to show you what I've done to it. You see that it has a circle and a line. Don't ever read the plot of this opera, please. Also, here's something really interesting. Did you know that Verdi's full name is Giuseppe Fortunino Francesco Verdi? I didn't know that. So you see, even in a little local theater, you learn something. So why does anybody put on this opera? Well, you would put it on because you have great singers. It sort of is a transitional opera from real bel canto opera moving along to what will happen later when we get actual stories that we care about and plots and much more drama, much more involvement, the audience feeling much more for the characters. In this opera that we saw today, I really didn't care about anybody. But the Met put it on. I think one of the reasons they put it on was for Miss Meade. She just fits the role perfectly. Aside from singers, there is a production, a chorus, and an orchestra. And first, I'd like to say a little bit about the production. I'm really tired of dark and no scenery. I should say backdrops. We had some beautiful staircases, some representations of castles, but what happened to mountains or trees or rivers or other buildings in the background? Everything today is just blank. I just don't like it. In my little local regional opera company, we get these productions that travel around from town to town. We get forests and all sorts of other beautiful things to add a little interest to the opera. But we didn't have that today. We also had a set of very dreary costumes, except for the lead soprano, who wore two beautiful dresses, and she looked lovely in them. Other than that, everybody was wearing sort of the typical Spanish garb of the day. Dimitri H, who plays one of the bad guys, oh God, I can't even remember, Don Carlo, yes, another Don Carlo. He had beautiful costumes, but I would like to make a note to his costume designer that the pants on both of his costumes looked like pajama bottoms. Could you do something about that? I mean, Dimitri's quite good looking. All right, after that, we get the chorus and orchestra. I love the Met chorus. I love the Met orchestra. Today was not their finest hour. It sounded so ragtag. There was no crispness. There was no energy in the music in general. So overall, I have to say this was one of the most disappointing HD productions I've ever seen. Even a poor opera can have a lot of detail that will add interest for the audience. However, in the theater where I was, I will say that the people seemed to enjoy it. But they were very typical of people here in Pittsburgh who love a lot of things. They just love to be entertained and are very happy to hear a pretty good cast in general. So that's the end of this little clip because I want to spend more time on my next clip talking about the actual production and the intermission features. Catch you in a minute.